Namaste. Welcome to this session. We have been dealing with the Sutra 1.47, which comes after Savichara Nirvichara Samapatti. So the aphorist commences to mention the effect of accomplished condition in nirvichara samapatti, which pertains to subtle principles, subtle objects. So the sutra is nirvichara vaisharadhyaihi adhyatma prasadaha. And then we had taken little introductory information about the adhyatma and prasada. Because the sutra says by accomplished condition in nirvichara samapatti. So nirvichara samapatti has been considered. So we have some idea of what is nirvichara samapatti. Then we are supposed to have little information about adhyatma and prasada. And we had commenced with that. So it is unique aspect of Oriental thought process or Arsha thought process, that is thought process which has come from Vedas, Vedic culture, Vedic civilization, Vedic dharma, Vedic religion, Vedic philosophy. So this Adhyatma is found in the whole culture of spiritual practices, so-called spiritual practices in our culture system. Apart from metaphysics, there is something called Adhyatma. And Adhyatma means it is a tripartite constitution. And we had this introductory information in the last session. Dibhautika, didaivika, adhyatmika. You just can't say that I want to have pursuit of Adhyatma. You must be aware of what is dibhautika, what is didaivika, and what is adhyatmika. And the metaphysics says that the whole creation that is in the planet, in the galaxy, in the universe, has these three aspects, three dimensions there: adibhautik, adidaivik, and adhyatmika. Therefore, in Adhyatma, which is loosely translated as spiritual practices, it is implied that one must be aware of adibhautik, adidaivik, adhyatmika. That is why I referred you to Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter, where these basic questions are posed. What is adibhautikam? What is adidaivikam? What is adhyatmikam? And then, of course, Bhagavad Gita has contributed in its own way by a concept of adiyajn. So adiyajn means the indweller in entire creation, living, non-living, subtle, gross, phenomenal, noumenal. So all the entire creation is centrally regulated, internally regulated. That is called antaryami, internal ruler, informer. and that is adiyajn. And the entire creation has these three dimensions. It is not only that our life is having it, our manifestation is having it. Anything in this creation, living, non living, terrestrial, celestial, terrestrial, extraterrestrial, the entire creation has these dimensions called adhibhautik, adidaivik, adhyatmik. So, this is typical thought process which is postulating the reality of the universe. That concept of chaitanyam, atma chaitanyam, vishva chaitanyam, it is that metaphysical entity which is embedded in every subatomic particle, atomic particle, every atom, every thing, every object, every embodiment entails that there is something adhyatmic aspect. So Adhyatma is not only within you and me and mankind, Adhyatma is there everywhere, from tiniest particle to any huge body in this cosmos. Because we know that there are certain bodies in the cosmos which are as huge as 100 times and 1,000 times and 10,000 times larger than the sun, which is perhaps the largest body that we are aware of. But of course, now we know that by astronomy and astrophysics, the sun itself is classified as white dwarf, and white. So, white is a class in astronomy for stars. There are yellow stars, there are white stars, there are blue stars, there are red stars. So white is the sun is, and then it is dwarf. So there are huge bodies in this universe, and we are told by modern science that if the largest star, if it is placed where the sun is, at the distance of 93 billion miles from Earth, it would engulf Mercury, Venus, Earth, and even Mars. It is such a huge body. So the Vedic rishis were aware of all these creations. The creation was not merely where they stood on the planet, but the creation was also over the head, above the head, in the infinite space. So, it is very fascinating topic to really understand the concept of adibhautika, adhyatmika, adidaivika as postulated by the seers and sages and rishis and munis. It is said that all manifestations are adibhautika. As much as the earth is adibhautik, our body is adibhautik, the sun is adibhautik, the Milky Way is adibhautik. So these are all manifestations, and in outermost layer of them, they are called as galaxies, stars, planets, etc., or satellites, etc. Or coming to the earth, we call them something as mountains and rivers and oceans. So we know this manifest creation on the planet and outside the planet. So those are all called adibhautik form. So adibhautik manifestation is what we refer to as universe, comprising of nebulae, galaxies, stars and starry systems and planets planetary systems. So the manifestation is adibhautika, and it is constituted by didaivik aspects which are invisible. The visible universe is adibhautika manifestation, and the adidaivika is the constituents of it. It is constituted by adidaivika forces. And creation is supported by adhyatmic aspect. Adhyatma supports the creation, adidaivik would constitute the creation, and adibhautika would be manifesting the creation. This is how it has to be understood. So, adibhautika avishkar, adidaivika sanghatna, and adhyatmic dharana, which supports. So, adhyatmic aspect is the support for entire creation, living, non-living, subtle, extremely subtle, gross, visible, to extremely gross, extremely huge. And therefore, in Vedic philosophy, there is adhyatmic dharana. So, Adhyatma is a huge thing to understand. As I repeatedly said, that we have to understand all the three dimensions, and now even the fourth dimension, with Bhagavad Gita declaring something as adiyajn. He says, I am adiyajn in entire creation. Adhyatma is a swabhava of all creation. And the celestial forces which constitute is adidaivika. And adibhautika is the manifest form of anything in the creation. Very subtle, extremely subtle to extremely gross. Extremely microscopic or electron microscopic to very gross. So, it entails here that student of yoga philosophy should understand adibhautika, adidaivika, adhyatmic aspects, which is in the creation. So, Adhyatma is a dharana. Adhyatma is a dharana, and the Indian philosophy is having this at the root as support. So, all the Vaidika darshanas, Astika darshanas have this Adhyatmic dharana. So, there is something called as Adhyatma. There is something called as Adhyatmic dharana. That means the life influenced by Adhyatmic aspects, which loosely gets translated as spiritual. And soon you will realize that we should do away with this term. It is insufficient to describe Adhyatma. There is no word for Adhyatma in English, as much as there are no words for Adibhautik and Adidaivik. And then there is something called as Adhyatma sadhana, Adhyatma dharana, Adhyatma sadhana, and now Patanjali tells us about Adhyatma prasada. So, we will have to have some idea about what is Adhyatmic dharana, Adhyatmic sadhana, and then Adhyatmic prasada, which is Adhyatma prasada. So, Patanjali implies that we must have some thought process with regards to these concepts. Adhyatma, Adhyatmic dharana, Adhyatmic sadhana, Adhyatma prasad. When he mentions the Adhyatma prasad, this is implied. Now, Adhyatma is a centric aspect of creation, be that, as I said, from barest monad or blade of grass or an atom or particle or subatomic particle to universe at large. The centric force of it, at the center of it, whatever is at the center of it is called Adhyatma, which is holding on to entire creation and manifestation. It's a centric force. It is a gravity by itself. So, then what is Adhyatma, as I said last time? That which is just beyond the swa, that which is just beyond the I, sense of I, aham kara, mama kara, that which is even constituting our I-ness and constituting our mindness. Because we have this I-ness and mindness. This is mine, that is mine, and this is me. So what is constituting that? This is me, subjective entity, the pronoun I, and what is constituting this is mine, that is Adhyatma. If that center is removed, you won't have I-ness and mindness. And that is why it is just beyond the identity, one's identity, an identity of everything. Because a flower has an identity, a pot has an identity, a stone has an identity, a boulder has an identity, a rock has an identity, a drop of water has identity, or atom of water has identity. Subatomic particles have identity. Why? That's why we call them proton, neutron, electron. Some nama rupa comes to them, and therefore they have a function as well. So Adhyatma is absolute center, centric aspect, center of all creation, be that phenomenal or nominal. That is Adhyatma. Then there is something as Adhyatma sadhana. In case of our embodiment, there is also Adhyatma. Behind we are made up of 11 organs. 5 conative, 5 cognitive, 1 internal. Ekadasha indriya. So each of these indriya, they have Adhyatma. And in Upanishads it is described that their function is Adhyatma. Shravanam, Mananam, Darshanam. The function of the 5 cognitive organs and function of the 5 conative organs and the function of the mind, Mananam. So the function is said to be Adhyatma. If we have to understand Adhyatma in ourselves, our body, our embodiment. Then what is Adhyatma? Bhagavad Gita has a brief description which again needs to be deciphered, yet should be opened out. The more we understand the tenets of the philosophy here, like adhibhautik, adidaivik, adhyatmik, we will be able to understand that better. Svabhavo adhyatma uchyate is what Bhagavad Gita says. What is svabhava? The swa behind senses, swa behind organs, swa behind ourselves. We are again collocation of several identities. Every organ has its identity and therefore it has its name. Eyes, ears, mouth, nose, tongue, They have the names. But then they are all for whom? They are for one entity. The eyes are for me, ears are for me, nose is for me, mouth is for me, limbs are for me, mind is for me, intellect is for me. So see, behind them there is a centric force which is subjective entity of me. They are all for me. They are mine. And then what is behind this me is Adhyatma. The very swa bhava, the very presence of swa is based on something that is Adhyatma. That is the Caitanya. If the Caitanya is not there, if the sentiency is gone, the eyes are not yours, the mouth is not yours, the ears are not yours, the nose is not yours. As long as you are living, they are yours. Once you are not living and you are gone beyond, then they are not yours. That is why anybody picks it up and then disposes it. Our body will be picked up by anyone and will be disposed of by cremation or by burial or whatever. We won't fight with that person. Why are you lifting my body? Why are you lifting me? We are not there. So that which is the centric force behind our existence, that is Adhyatma. And that doesn't have caste, class, creed, gender, status, stature, etc., which I have been repeatedly telling you. Anyway, what is Adhyatma sadhana? Yoga is Adhyatma sadhana. What is typical of Adhyatma sadhana? Everything is not Adhyatma sadhana. In everything there is Adhyatma, but every sadhana is not Adhyatma sadhana. What is typical of Adhyatma sadhana? So, let me tell you here that when we are doing something, there is an extraneous force. We have to take recourse to some extraneous thing, extraneous thing, and then only we can do something in our worldly activity, business activity of life. There is either an instrument which is external to us, there is an extraneous instrument with which we do something. Now today in this cyber world and computerized world, we need a computer-like thing. It could be palm top or laptop or tabletop. We need something. That's an instrument through which we are carrying out every activity today, as compared to the condition that we had some 40, 50 years back, or 20, 30, 40, 50 years back. Our generations were living without such a computer. Today, we cannot do anything without a computer. We have to take recourse to computer. So that's a tool, that's an instrument for us to carry out our business activity of life. So some extraneous thing will come. If you want to gain knowledge, say if you want to gain knowledge of economics, you'll have to read so many books in economics. Books are extraneous thing. They are not part of you. You use them. If you want to become student of philosophy, medicine, law, whatever, you will have to do some studies, and that means you have to study some books and texts which are not part of us. They are extraneous to us. So the instrument will be extraneous to us, or the object is extraneous to us, like economics, politics, physics, chemistry. We study something which is not we. This is what our education is today. We try to learn and get formally educated in something which we are not. And we merely want to know, and then we merely want to use it, apply it, use it. So these are all extraneous things. So this is what is education today. We want to learn everything apart from we ourselves. We want to learn everything that is around us and something which is of the class that it is around us. And we don't want to learn ourselves. We are not object of education for ourselves. We are not object of knowledge for ourselves. We become object of knowledge for somebody else. So also we will try to know someone, but nobody wants to know oneself. We are interested in getting introduced to people. Someone, this one, that one, everyone, anyone. We want to get introduced to someone who is not we ourselves. It is not us. It is not we ourselves. It is second person or third person that we want to know. It is not the first person that we want to know. We want to know as many as possible. Every second person, every third person we want to know. Every second thing and every third thing that we want to know. We don't want to know the first thing, which is we ourselves. We are a thing and we don't want to know that thing. Okay, if it is we are trying to know ourselves, we ourselves as a thing we want to know, which they do in anatomy, physiology, psychology. Again, they use extraneous agencies, extraneous tools to be knowing something about oneself. So either the object is extraneous, or the purpose is extraneous, or instruments are extraneous. Only subjective entity is integral to us. Objective entity is outside us. Instrumental entity is outside and extraneous to us. And this subjective entity wants to know everything about objects around, about the subjects around, but not the subjective entity itself. Anyway, if we know ourselves, say it happens in anatomy, physiology, or in medical college, in medical academies, they try to know their own embodiment. But how do they know their own embodiment? They use extraneous instruments such as X-rays and scanners and whatever instruments, or microscopes. So the instruments are extraneous to us. They are not organically from we ourselves. As much as our intelligence is organically ours, through intelligence we know. But then we depend upon extraneous gadgets, extraneous instruments. You can't imagine any knowledge of or study in a medical academy without use of X-ray visions, without microscopes. There is no, because we are biological entity and there is no biology without microscope. So we'll have to use these extraneous instruments. So either or the purpose is extraneous. We are having a pursuit for someone else. But in Adhyatmic sadhana, one tries to know oneself for the sake of oneself through the medium of oneself. So instrument is organically part of ours. Subjective entity is we ourselves. Objective entity is also organically ours. So the subjective entity, instrumental entity, objective entity, the knowledge, the knowing, the knower, when they are all integral to us, then that is Adhyatma sadhana. If I want to know the space above my head, astronomy, astrophysics, it is not Adhyatma. Because I am trying to know something which is around me. But when I am trying to know something about myself, with regards to myself, in relationship to myself, in relation to myself, through my own instruments, I am not depending on microscopes and telescopes or scanners, etc. When I try to know myself by myself, through myself, about myself, then that is Adhyatma. So this is how it can be explained for modern intelligence as to what is Adhyatma. So in simple terms, I want to know myself through myself for myself. So the purpose is again organically integrated with me. The knower is of course integrated to me. The knowledge process is also integrated to me. The way I know is also integrated through my own instruments, organically my own instruments, my own mind, intelligence, psyche, consciousness, and about something which is myself. So when the whole knowledge process is turned unto oneself, then that is Adhyatma sadhana. So, little bit about Adhyatma, little bit about Adhyatma sadhana, I told you here. Now, what is being mentioned is Adhyatma prasada. Adhyatma is just not knowledge process. By Adhyatma, you get prasadam. Prasadam means, you should recall, I said it is blessedness. It's a grace, it is blessedness. And of course, there is no word for prasad in any other language, because that is not there in any other language, in the culture of any other language. But we have this in our culture, something called as prasada. Prasada from one's own parents. Matru prasada, pitru prasada. Guru prasada. Then prasada of purvaja. Prasada, which is the blessedness and grace which has come from ancestors. My grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather, grandmother, great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother, paternal, maternal. So that's why we have this concept of prasada. Purvaja prasada. Purvaja means our ancestral background. Purvaja, ancestral background. So we can have grace of them. We can have grace of our parents. We can have great grace of saints and sages and wise and sagacious people. Santa prasada, Guru prasada, Matru prasada, Pitru prasada, Purvaja prasada, Deva prasada, Bhagavad prasada. So the concept of prasada is very much there in our culture, and therefore we know what it really means by whatever degree, sufficiently or insufficiently. But we hold prasad in high esteem, and we know it is of the nature of something that showers blessedness on us. We feel blessed, we feel blessed by prasada. We feel graced by prasada. So that which is gracing and that which is giving blessedness is called prasada. And that is why we have this concept of prasada with respect to revered people, revered ones who should be revered by us, like our fathers, our mother, our forefathers, our ancestors, then noble people who are around us, Santa Prasada. If there is a saintly person around us, we can get grace from such a person, we can be feeling blessed by that person, blessedness from that person. So Guru Prasada, Deva Prasada, by prasada of one's own personal deity, Bhagavad Prasada, prasada of Almighty. So here there is something called as Adhyatma Prasada. Adhyatma itself is a prasada. We don't have to depend upon someone from whom we can get blessedness, such as our father, our mother, our guru, our teachers, or some noble person whom we know, whom we meet or have met, and then we get the grace, their ashirwads and their prasad. But this is Adhyatma prasada, which is generated from within. So this prasada, the blessedness is generated from within. It is not that somebody keeps hand on you and you get blessed. This Adhyatma prasada, this prasada comes from within. Prasada comes from something within oneself. So we are not just what we are, but we have something within us which is those devatas. Because of Adhidevi constitution, we have all those 330 million gods within our embodiment. They are inside our embodiment. This is not just our embodiment. It is not that we live in this embodiment. It is not that even we possess this embodiment, because we don't really possess. Because when do we enter and when we are ejected is not in our hands. Because otherwise, if it is your house, you can enter any time and you can vacate your house any time or go out of your house any time if it belongs to you. You are not bound to your house. So this embodiment, we have not come on our own accord into this embodiment. We are not going to leave this body on our own accord. So we are just like inmates. We have just come as yatris, like in chowtries. The yatris come and go. They stay overnight and go walk away next morning. And then they stay free there. Dharmashala is always free. They don't charge anything. So also we have entered the body without any charge. We are not given a bill for our life that you stayed in this embodiment for 60, 70, 80, 90 years and therefore this is the bill. No, we are like yatris. This embodiment is leased to us free of cost, free of charge. And then we use it during lifetime, and then we are ejected at the end of the life without a notice. Like a tenant gets some notice of 3 months or whatever period duration, we don't get even a notice. We will be unknowingly driven out of this embodiment even next moment. So we are yatrikas in this embodiment. And then in this embodiment, those who have come on their own accord and those who are going to live on their own accord is devas. 33 devas. They are of the class of the gods, therefore it is called devakoti. And then each of the devas have their own powers and prowess or class, therefore it is Tehetis Koti. It is not a figure. It is not 33 crores. It is 33 classes. Koti comes for both, for class and for figure. Figure means 10 billion. And Koti also comes to denote a class. So there are devatas of 33 classes. Vasu Rudra Aditya Indra Prajapati, or Vasu Rudra Aditya and Ashwini Kumars. Ashtavasus, Ekadash Rudra, Dwadasha Aditya. That becomes 31. 8 plus 11 plus 12, and plus 2 means either Ashwini Kumar or Indra Prajapati. So that is 33. They are of the class of 33 gods. Each god is having independent class. That is why it is koti. Anyway, they have come on their own accord. They are going to leave on their accord. Nobody is going to eject them. They have come on their own. They are going to depart on your own. We have not come on our own. We are not going to depart on our home. When they depart, we depart. So, we have the grace coming from devatas from within. Although we know that the grace comes from God, the gods are in the temples, in shrines, and that we get their grace. And that's why we, just as we have a personal God, we have a personal shrine. Our personal deity's shrine, particular shrine of a personal deity, also becomes something like personal shrine. And then we think the grace comes from that personal shrine and personal deity. But the personal deity is within. We ourselves are shrine of it. They are within us. So we get the grace from them. So the grace which is coming in our idea from outside, in Adhyatma it comes from within. It is showered by something within us. Because the Almighty is within us, the devatas are within us, and they are going to shower grace. So those who shower the grace are within us. Upon whom it is showered is also within us. Our own mind feels blessed. Our psyche feels blessed. Our consciousness feels blessed. Our body feels blessed. Our embodiment feels blessed. So it is something like one getting blessed by something within, that is by oneself, for something of oneself, which is again of oneself, for oneself, in oneself, with oneself, by oneself. Self means here either we or something that is integrally within us, which constitutes us. So the God is within us, the devatas are within us. So they are part of us. They are not just something within us. Like bacteria can enter our body, but we don't say this is my bacteria. We don't say it is my bacteria. It is bacteria within me. And we want that to be out. But so it is not we ourselves, it is not part of ourselves, it has become a part of ourselves. It is not integrally ourselves, like there is a tumor, there is cancer. It is not something which is integrally ours, but it has come to stay in us and we want that to be ejected. A tumor or cancer. So also bacteria, infections. The infections are within us, but they are not integrally we ourselves. They are afflicting we ourselves. So that which is integrally within us, Atma, Paramatma, and then Devatas, so they are gracing us. Those who grace, they are also part of us. The process through which they grace us is also integrally ours. And then one who is beneficiary of the grace is also integrally ours. And that is Adhyatma prasada. So this is introductory understanding of Adhyatma prasada. But when Yogi, now having accomplished nirvichara samapatti, the prasada is going to be something different. We also can get Adhyatma prasada. Not having got any samapatti, any samadhi, we can have Adhyatma prasada. Not that we don't have Adhyatma prasada. But our Adhyatma prasada will have particular caliber, function, role, efficacy, and manifestation. Every one of us have adhyatmic prasada. As long as we are living, we have Adhyatma prasada. And then even after we are no more, there is a transmigrating body that also has Adhyatma prasada, because the divinity is residing even in that. If the divinity is in this embodiment, divinity is also in that which is transmigrating. Because that's the antaryami of Sukshma Deha, Sukshma Shariram, astral body. So grace is there, Adhyatmic grace is there for every one of us. As a matter of fact, we have a brain, and this is a marvelous brain. If you recall, when we were dealing with the anatomy physiology in one of the lessons earlier, from the perspective of yoga, it is really, we are graced to be having this brain. We are graced to be having the seeing power, hearing power. It is not that machines are planted, that this is a sound machine and this is a vision machine. They are not machines. Mind is not a machine. So it's a great grace for us to be having the mind. All the more often we might be tormented by our own mind, it is because of our samskars and the garment that the mind is wearing. Otherwise, mind as such itself is a great grace. But it puts on a bad clothes, and then it negatively works for us, and then we are tormented, harassed by our own mind. And then we say, I should not have had this mind at all, when it is tormenting. But otherwise the mind is gracing. Mind is a grace. Mind is a grace by itself. The intellect is a grace by itself. Memory is a grace by itself. Jnana, knowledge, is grace by itself. Every aspect is a grace. It's a marvel. So the Adhyatma prasad is there for everyone and anyone. But what is Adhyatma prasada for one who is quite religious minded, very noble? Because as I said, eyes are there for even a terrorist, an anti-human element in human beings. He also has eyes, he has also ears. So he has Adhyatma prasada. But when somebody is lifted in level of consciousness, who becomes saint, sage, etc., then the grace is different. So on different levels of consciousness, the grace would be differently manifesting, and it will be differently identified, it will be differently notified even. So Adhyatma grace, none of us are bereft of Adhyatmic grace. But when Yogi reaches proficiency in nirvichara samapatti, it's a unique prasada. That prasada, you and me don't have it. We have prasada in some other form, but not in the form that Yogi accomplished in nirvichara samapatti has. Now we are supposed to be knowing what is that prasadam for one who has accomplished nirvichara samapatti. Don't take it this way that others don't have Adhyatma prasada. Every Tom, Dick and Harry, you and me, everyone have Adhyatma prasada. Even the mosquitoes and bed bugs and whatever creatures, they all have Adhyatma prasada because they have extraordinary power. It is because of the very Caitanya in them. So, Adhyatma prasada is there for all, at least living creation. There is Adhyatma prasada. But then consciousness evolvement is another aspect in human life. We have to evolve our consciousness. And that is why we have this dharma sadhana, yoga sadhana, jnana sadhana, karma sadhana, bhakti sadhana, which will evolve our plane of consciousness. And when the plane of consciousness evolves, it's a different blessedness. See, father leaves a property for two children. He has only two children. And then there's a property of, say, some 500 million rupees. He leaves it for both of them, equally shared. But one of them is very weak, insane, mad. So he gets the 50% share with what avail. The other one is strong, intelligent, well-natured, good-natured, and very intelligent. He also gets 50%. But what happens to 50% of an intelligent, good boy, good child, and a strong child who doesn't have to spend money for his health, while another child is weak and also unintelligent? The entire money will be lost, same amount of money will be lost in mere maintenance. Whereas a good child will perhaps maintain some 10 people or 100 people after maintaining oneself. So both have received 50% of the property. But for one, it has got seeped through or dried out in no time. For the intelligent one, he multiplies it. He multiplies it. The stupid child doesn't know what is investment. But then this intelligent child knows what is wise investment. And then he doubles the money, triples the money in no time. Whereas the other child, the money is just running down and down and down and down to ultimately disappear. So the grace was equal to both. But what happened? It is because the level of development of the child, called intelligent child, wise child, good child, healthy child, it reaped a lot, while for other, it did not reap that much. So all are endowed with Adhyatma prasada, but then it's more or less degree. Now we are being told about this highest degree, because this is the yogi who has accomplished samadhi, who has accomplished sampragnata samadhi, sampragnata plane of yoga. He is accomplished in sampragnata yoga. Nirvichara vaisharadhyaihi means sampragnata samadhi, accomplished yogi. So what will he get? Is something that we should know. And that is what is being divulged by Patanjali in this sutra and following sutras. The whole topic, Rutambara prajna. So he gets Adhyatma prasada, Rutambara tatra prajna, Shrutamana prajna abhyam anya vishaya visheshartatvat, tajya samskaro anya samskara pratibandhi, tasyapi nirode sarva nirodhat nirbija samadhi. So these are the fruits of this Adhyatma prasada, a final fruit, ultimate fruit. The fruit par excellence is kaivalyam. So it is going to give that. Perhaps our grace will only give us good life. That's all. We will live good life if somebody has graced us. But if a spiritually evolved person has graced us, we know that it takes us beyond our life. The endowments will be carried beyond our life. So, we are now going to understand the Adhyatma prasada for yogi. This is an accomplished yogi. Nirvichara vaisharadhyaihi Adhyatma prasadaha. So this vaisharadyam means sampragnata samadhi vaisharadyam. And that is going to escalate into human, spiritual, samam bonam called kaivalyam, moksham, nirvanam, bandha mukti. So now we are embarking upon the textual purport of the Adhyatma prasada. What is this Adhyatma prasada? But this topic is being adjourned for this session. And now let us consider what Patanjali is mentioning about Adhyatma Prasada to this particular class of yogi, who is yogi of supreme hierarchy, who has accomplished Samprajñat Samadhi and who is on the run up to Kaivalya, Moksha, Nirvanam. So that is next time when we are going to look at this sutra, the textual form of it. Namaskar, all of you.